Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. They've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon, let's get to it.
Disputed, I'm Jenny Taft with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe. Happy Friday, guys. How are we doing?
Happy Friday, Jenny. I'm doing great. Not happy Friday to you, Skip, because I got something for you today. I've been waiting on this one. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of everybody taking shots at LeBron. I'm going to end this today. I promise you that.
Well, that's funny you bring that up because I can't wait for Sunday night, episodes 5 and 6 of why Jordan was better than LeBron. Thank you.
Ain't no why. Everybody knows. Ain't no why, Skip Bayless. That's all right. We got a documentary coming out, too. Why I'm the GOAT.
Everyone wants to talk about Michael Jordan, about the documentary, and that is where we begin today. When discussing the Last Dance documentary, former Cavs head coach David Blatt said that Michael Jordan is bigger globally than LeBron and was more successful on the court. Blatt continued to say that MJ did not focus on the I, but on the us, perhaps implying that he saw LeBron being too self-focused during his time in Cleveland. So, Shannon, how big of a problem do you have with this?
Skip, why is everyone taking this documentary about Michael Jordan, The Last Dance, and using it as an opportunity to dump on LeBron? Skip, you remember when they did the documentary about Michael Jackson? This is it. It's supposed to be his last 50 concerts, and I think it was going to take him 50 days. Upon his passing, they compiled all the behind-the-scenes footage of him rehearsing, getting ready for these shows. People didn't use that as an opportunity to take a shot at Prince. But why is everybody using this documentary to take a shot at LeBron James? I get it, David Blatt. You probably believe that the reason you lost your job in Cleveland was because of LeBron James. But what we do know about LeBron James, he's been one of the most unselfish, all-time, historically great players in the history of the game. Many rag on him for passing too much. Why would you pass that shot up to Udonis Haslem? Why would you pass that ball to Kyle Korver? Why would you pass that ball to George Hill? And now he's selfish? Wow. This thing really hurt. I can tell that David Blatt is really hurt about how it ended in Cleveland because how you know what Michael Jordan was like? Now, it's been documented in the last one. He wasn't very fond of the triangle offense in the beginning because it was taking the ball out of his hand. We saw in the championship game in 91, their first finals, Phil Jackson had to implore him. You got to trust John Paxson. You've got to pass him the ball because they're doubling and triple teaming you. When have you ever heard somebody say that to LeBron? If anything that's like LeBron, you got to take that shot. You're the best player on the team. Don't be such a willing passer of the basketball. And now all of a sudden LeBron is selfish. Okay, yeah, if you mean selfish by saying, hell no, Kyrie ain't taking the last shot, I'm taking it. Yeah, he's selfish, and he should have been. That's dumb on your part. Man, this is ridiculous. And everybody, well, LeBron is the 19th greatest player of all time. LeBron wouldn't have been able to survive. This is not about LeBron. This is Michael Jordan's documentary. It's highlighting what transpired in the last season. Yes, they're going back and talking about some of the trials and tribulations that he had to overcome in order to ultimately win the championship. And it's documenting the last season, 1998. But Skip, this is enough of this bull jive now. Everybody wants to take their pound of flesh now. See, I get it. Kids that were not born or at a very young age that didn't get an opportunity to see Michael Jordan, I get that. But for all these guys that's my age, older, or at mid-40s, you know what Michael did. You didn't need this documentary. Now, maybe some of the stuff about what transpired in practice, Skip, or on the bus ride and him having to go get Dennis Rodman, I get all of that. But, Skip, you didn't need this documentary to know that Jordan was an all-time great on the court. This is ridiculous. David Blatt, go back up under your little rock. You had your opportunity, and you get it done. Ty Lue took your roster that you was going to lose again with and came from 3-1 down against a 73-win team. That's your legacy. You don't know what Michael was like. You never been around the man. All you know about, Skip, Michael Jordan globally, no question. Yeah, I'm not going to even debate that. If you want me to try to get up here and say LeBron is bigger than Michael Jordan, no way, no how. But they need to stop all this enough now. Enough is enough. Now, I've had it up to here with this foolishness.
And I say we're just getting started. And I say thank you, God, for the Last Dance documentary, because it is opening so many younger eyes to the fact that Michael Jordan was so much better in so many ways than LeBron James. And I agree with you, it has become open season on LeBron, but it's for all the right reasons, because what has happened is, Shannon, this has become LeBron's worst nightmare. This is times 10 your worst nightmare. This is opening the eyes of the undisputed faithful to the fact that Jordan clearly was better than LeBron. And our fans, our viewers are getting beaten over the heads with it day after day after day, enlightened over, oh yeah, Jordan did that, and he was that, and he was that, and that, and that, and that. We cannot go another day without another shot taken at LeBron, or should I say, another kudo thrown to Michael Jordan. And I just, in recent memory here, just in the last week or so, we had Michael Malone, the coach of the Denver Nuggets, take a shot at LeBron saying that he does not have the killer mentality that Jordan had. I've been saying that for what, 15 years on national TV? It's the biggest duh in the history of sports. And finally, people are awakened to the, oh yeah. And when a rival coach of a very good team in Denver goes on the record with it, you're like, yeah, okay. Now it's starting to hit home. And when Dennis Rodman, a two-time Defensive Player of the Year, and for a 5-year stretch, the best defensive player in basketball, says, yeah, I could shut down LeBron. Obviously, when Dennis was in his defensive prime, yeah, he could have, because he simplified it by saying LeBron's game is really simple. He doesn't have any moves. Yeah, he's a great driver of the basketball, but if you keep him from the rim, is he a great shooter? No, he's a below-average shooter, certainly by superstar standards. And now we start to get to the intangibles.
Skip, can I just say one thing? Why does everybody got to preface everything with an if? If the ball didn't go in the basket when Steph Curry shot the three, he wouldn't be the greatest distance shooter of all time. If Shannon Sharpe had Jeff Bezos' money, he would be the world's richest man. Don't use caveats. Don't use caveats. Don't say if you keep him from the basket. That's your job. And what about Larry Bird? Cook Dennis Rodman. Do you remember, Skip? Before they got over the hill, cook Dennis Rodman. 37-99 in 87. You remember it like it was yesterday. Cooked him in the game 7. Cooked him. And he got in trouble because he said if Larry Bird was black, he would just be another guy. You remember that.
What did I tell you yesterday? Larry Bird was better than LeBron. I told you that yesterday, sitting right here in this chair. I told you. Larry Bird had 30,000 moves that LeBron never dreamed of. Larry Bird was maybe as clever and creative a scorer as I can ever remember. Not as athletic as LeBron, but you want to talk about this and that and moves and shooting? Oh, Lord have mercy. He could have shot LeBron out of the gym. Now back to David Blatt's contention. Let's break it down. Intangibles. What is happening here? The first thing David Blatt said was, Michael won the most championships with one team. That's a powerful statement from a David Blatt, who, I remind everybody, is the most decorated international coach ever. Not even close. Not in the NBA, because he lasted his season in just a few games with LeBron. That was LeBron's fault. But outside of this country, around the world, where basketball is global, just check it out. David Blatt has won everything you can ever win. He's won multiple EuroLeague titles. He's won multiple EuroLeague Coach of the Years. He's won the Italy Championship, the Israel Championship, the FIBA Championship multiple times. He is an all-time great. He is the greatest coach outside the confines of the NBA. Now, Jordan won multiple championships with one team, the most. So what does that tell you about LeBron? David Blatt is saying, well, wait a second. He had to take his talents to South Beach. And then he had to, wait a second, he had to leave his best friend Dwayne Wade high and dry on South Beach and take his talents back to Cleveland to join forces with Kyrie and Kevin Love. David Blatt happened to be the first-year coach of that team. And when that ultimately didn't work out and Kyrie took his talents to Boston, then LeBron had to go Michael B. Jordan and go to Hollywood. And then he struck out in Hollywood and missed the playoffs, and his team went 28-27 in the games that he started for his first-year Lakers. And he had to power play the move of the year to get Anthony Davis to come from New Orleans to give him the help that he needs as a co-star in Los Angeles. Michael never had to do one of those things, not any of those things. Now we get to the I versus the us that David Blatt points out, and David Blatt saw it up close and personal firsthand. What have we seen? Let me go back to Kyrie that I just mentioned. What did I tell you the day Kyrie left LeBron and went to Boston? I told you that a source very close to Kyrie told me the number one reason Kyrie left was that LeBron had become more about stats than winning, more about building a resume by stat stuffing than a legacy of winning championships, because he had realized it was game over against Michael Jordan, 6-0 in the finals with 6 MVPs. So it's all about stat building and reputation building. And that's why LeBron James, even as we speak, has taken the most shots in the fourth quarter of NBA games this now abbreviated season, because he stat stuffs in blowout losses in which he stays in the game to pad his stats against bad teams. It's all he's got are accolades. He needs to lead the league in assists finally in his 17th year, which he is doing as we speak. What is he at 10.6? Way to go, LeBron.
Finally.
I still call him the best passer in basketball. But hey, Michael Jordan, people forget, but their eyes are getting open now. Michael Jordan could have led the league in assists if he had chosen.
Why didn't he?
Well, how about this? Well, wait a second. How about 88, 89? He came close. He had 8 assists a game. LeBron's got 10.6 right now. Wait, Michael Jordan went a whole year while winning the scoring title and averaging 8 assists a game, and he averaged 6 assists a game for his career. LeBron's at 7.4. It's not that different. If he had focused on that, if that had won him championships, he would have led the league in assists every year. That's how gifted he was.
Hold on. Wait a second. Hold on. You talking about, well, Michael had 8, LeBron is at 10.6. Okay, now I'm going to say 3. So basically 3 assists a game is what LeBron is leading. Multiply that times 85. Okay, Michael Jordan averaged 6. LeBron is 7.5. Okay, that's basically an assist and a half to 2 assists a game. Multiply that times 82. Times 17. What are you talking about? LeBron James has 3,600 more assists than Michael Jordan. Skip, nobody has ever said on his best day he could never pass the ball like LeBron James. On his absolute best day. But when I tell you, if LeBron wanted to, he could lead the league in scoring when he was in his prime. You talk about, well, why didn't he? If Michael Jordan, hold on. So you mean to tell me there was something Michael Jordan could have done and didn't do? You and I both know. If you're watching The Last Dance, Michael Jordan did what he wanted to do. He wanted to prove a point. So don't miss me with that. Michael Jordan did what he did, not diminishing that. But my thing is, Skip Bayless, I believe you can praise someone without trying to take a dump on someone else, especially when the documentary does not mention anything about LeBron. That's everybody's opportunity to come up from under the woodpile and try, and these like critters like a Michael Jackson video, Thriller. Everybody coming up out the crypt trying to take a shot at it. But don't worry about it, bro. We got this. When we resume this season, we're going to win the title. And Michael Jordan did not win the most titles at one location. Bill Russell got 11. And they're the Jones boys. And John Havlicek has more. Tom Heisen has more. So stop this notion about Michael Jordan has won more titles. And another thing, you say, well, LeBron left D-Wade high and dry. Michael Jordan gave his blessing when they traded his best friend, Charles Oakley, and you didn't say a word. He said, Charles and I was great friends. We did things together, but we were a championship caliber team and we needed Cartwright. So miss me with that all of a sudden.
I'll miss you with this. Jerry Krause had total autonomy over those Chicago Bulls, as you're seeing in this documentary. Jerry Krause had final say ultimately and did not care what Michael Jordan had to say. Michael had no input. Occasionally, Michael made suggestions. Some of them were not great suggestions because, as we've seen, Michael is not a great team builder. In fact, he might be the worst team builder in NBA history. But he was by far the greatest player ever. In fact, we're going to do another topic here in just a few minutes on the show. His agent made the point that he would have averaged 50 points a game in this day and age with the little to no defense that gets played. So there's another one we're going to talk about, but it's about David Blatt talking intangibles. What people can't come to grips with is LeBron almost on a daily basis is doing or saying something that helps undermine his team. We're top heavy as bleep. It's this, it's that. It's passive-aggressive criticism of his management or his teammates on social media. Never, ever did Michael Jordan ever do any of that. Michael Jordan was all for one. It was all about the team. He drove his team. He pushed his team, but he reinforced and validated his teammates when they did great. And he drove them to give him the kind of help that wins championships, not makes you look better or takes you off the hook because you ran from last shot after last shot after last shot. Again, it's so simple. We got the mentally toughest player ever and the mentally weakest superstar ever, and it's game over. You've been exposed, you phony goat. It's over.
Skip, whoa. The man passed the ball. And for a guy that has a shot or a layup, and then you say he's running from it. Then now you say, David Blatt says, well, he was selfish. Michael Jordan was about team, LeBron's about I. Skip, how do you have it both ways? He passes the ball, he's running for the last shot. He takes the shot, he's being selfish. What?
I never said he was selfish taking the last shot. I wish he'd take every last shot if he had the guts, and he doesn't have the guts. And David Blatt saw it up close and personal. Who was the coach in Game 1 at Oracle? Do you remember that? No, that was the next year. How about the Game 4 at Oracle? That's the one I want to talk about. Remember the one David Blatt's year? Can we talk about that game? Do you remember that one, Shannon?
No, Skip. Game 4 was back in Cleveland.
The
first two was in Oracle.
Yeah. Okay, David Blatt's year coaching. What happened in Game 4 back in LeBron's, the King's house? The point was that LeBron played 3 games that were the greatest 3 games of his career. I've said this, I've told you this time and time again. 3 straight games in which he was sensational. What did he average in those first 3 games? He averaged 41 points a game for 3 games because he had lost Kevin Love before the finals started. Then he lost Kyrie at halftime in overtime of Game 1, right? And from that point on, he was magnificent until we got to Game 4. And all of a sudden, he's up 2-1 in his house against a team that doesn't have Kevin Durant yet, has not broken through and won a championship yet, and is not sure of itself yet. LeBron should have closed that deal, and trust me, I would have given him 5 standing ovations. That was the greatest moment of his career, to be able to do something really special, to actually make a run at Michael Jordan's legacy. And what happened, Shannon, in Game 4?
They lost.
Yeah, what happened? Oh, did they lose? He was terrible. He shot 7 of 22 from the field. It scored only 20 points. He came up small. They could have closed the deal virtually that night to go up 3-1. That was when Iguodala was inserted in the starting lineup to guard LeBron. And he shrank and he disappeared. and they lost the next. Obviously, they lost 3 straight games, and they were out.
Hey, Skip, if you don't mind me asking, when Michael Jordan and the Bulls went up 2-1 on Detroit Pistons, why didn't he close that deal in '89? They went up 2-1. Michael Jordan had a 2-1 lead on the Bad Boy Pistons.
But wait a second.
Wow, no.
Better team. Bad Boy Pistons are the first-year Golden State Warriors. It's not even close.
Skip.
That Pistons team would have eaten that Golden State team for breakfast.
Skip. No. All I'm asking you say LeBron was up 2-1. He's got to close the deal against the MVP and Steph Curry, a 67-15 win team, maybe 68-14 if I'm not mistaken. I'm asking you, if the GOAT, Michael Jordan, had a 2-1 lead, he has to close that deal. Why didn't he?
Okay, but LeBron was in his prime, at his peak, at his greatest, and he shrank under pressure against a team. Now that I look back at it, it wasn't a great team. Steph and Clay weren't quite Steph and Clay yet. They hadn't really reached their peaks. And
Skip,
well, they weren't. Clay hadn't come into his own yet.
Skip, as a matter of fact, Steph Curry was the MVP. The year after, when LeBron and them took him down, the Cavs took him down, Steph Curry was the first guy to make 400 threes in the season. He also shot 50, 40, 90. 50% from the field, 40% from the three, 90 from the free throw line, 73-9. Klay Thompson broke the old three-point record. So you mean to tell me, talking about they weren't the same? 73-9? Stop it.
Timeout.
Stop it, Skip.
Steph Curry has been a huge disappointment in every postseason he has played. He has come up even smaller than he is in every postseason. Yes, he has. Go check it out.
Skip.
Go look at Game 7 at home against your guys when they came back from 3-1 down. Go look at it.
Skip.
Tell me what he did or didn't
check
do.
It out. Skip. But here's the thing: what you won't acknowledge. He has a higher scoring average in the finals than Kareem, D-Wade, Larry Bird. Is any of those guys any good? Steph Curry has been such a disappointment. He has a higher scoring average in the finals than D-Wade, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Larry Bird. What?
And wait, help me out. How many MVPs does Steph have in the finals?
Who?
Oh, none?
Skip.
None.
Skip.
He's got no MVPs.
No, but
really?
Skip, no, Skip. Like I said, we've debated this before. If you look at what he did in the year that Kevin Durant won the Finals MVP, Skip, he was 28-8-9. He was 27-7-9. Skip, Kevin Durant had historically great seasons. Sometimes you can have a great season, and then somebody on your own team has an even better. Skip, don't try to diminish Steph by trying to prop up Jordan. Jordan doesn't need any help. But to say Steph Curry has been terrible is not true. Skip, the ball.
Go look at the fourth quarter of Game 7. He was 1 for 6 at home.
Skip, that's one game.
You're so lucky he's been so terrible. If he hadn't been so terrible, you wouldn't have that championship, that tainted championship, because Draymond got suspended.
Skip, Steph Curry has played in 5 finals. You pick one game to say he's been awful, god-awful, and it's clouded everybody's judgment. Steph Curry has not been awful in the finals. Yes, he's had an off game. Jordan has had an off game. Jordan once scored 19 points against the Supersonics, and they lost. Jordan did not score 40 points in every finals. He didn't score 30 in every finals game. So stop this notion. My only point is, Skip, at some point in time, David Blatt's going to have to let this go. Mike Shanahan, my former coach from the Broncos, tried to trade me twice, Skip. He rode me relentlessly. But I've never not said he's not the best coach I've ever played for. Skip, let it go. Let it go. You let this.
Shannon,
I don't get it, Skip.
You're going to have to let it go. It's over. You've had your last dance. Good night.
Everyone has something to say about Michael Jordan, and we will have more to talk about, of course, after Sunday's episodes.
No mercy.
Hey, Undisputed listeners, time for some exciting news. Fox Sports Digital, the team that produces this podcast, has been nominated for a Webby Award for our coverage of the 2019 FIFA Women's World Cup in Paris. I was there covering the U.S. women's national team's incredible run as repeat champs. C'était vraiment incroyable. It was truly such an amazing opportunity and experience. So many stories I was lucky enough to help tell. If you enjoyed our work, we'd love it if you could visit vote.webbyawards.com. That's vote.webbyawards.com to support our entries. Fox Sports was nominated for Best Overall Social Coverage for our nightly show, Fox Sports World Cup Now, and for a digital feature we produced on Brandi Chastain, who looks back 20 years later on her famous PK that won the 1999 Women's World Cup. Thanks again, Undisputed listeners. We appreciate your voting consideration. And now, back to the show.
No mercy.
NFL.com ranked the NFL's top quarterback wide receiver combos, and it's no surprise that leading the group was Drew Brees and Michael Thomas. But reigning Super Bowl champs Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill came in fifth, right behind Dak Prescott and Amari Cooper. So, Shannon, do you have a problem with Dak and Amari actually above Tyreek
sure
and
do.
Mahomes?
Sure do. Jenny, you got to finish. Yep, got a big problem with it. Got a big problem. Got a problem with it. Problems. First, Skip, really? First of all, they're not even top five because Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams needs to be higher. They need to be in the top five. You know that. I know that. I'm taking Adam Thielen and first cousins over Dak and Amari because as Skip Bayless has told me, Amari doesn't show up on the road. And last I checked, they do play games on the road. So that's going to factor in. I got a problem with Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. When do they play together? Because Skip, we've seen two great-looking couples. One over there, ooh, one look good, ooh, and the other one look good. Man, if they get together, they're going to be a great couple. And it doesn't work out. So until they get together, until they play, they shouldn't be on the list. They shouldn't. Kyler and D-Hop, I know what D-Hop did at Houston, but he can't be on the list with this list because he hadn't taken one snap with Kyler Murray. Now, I got no problem with 1 and 2, Skip. I don't think anybody should have a problem with 1 and 2. The connection between Drew Brees and Mike Thomas is legendary. I don't know, Skip, how much longer Drew Brees is going to play, but when you go for basically a $150 in catches, had 100+ the year before, probably 100+ the year before, they got to be number one. Julio and Matt Ryan, no problem whatsoever. But my number 3 would be Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams. My number 4 would be Patrick Mahomes boy and Tyreek Hill. And number 5 would be Cousins and Adam Thielen. That's all I need to know. First of all, that is not even the top 5. There ain't no way they should be in the top 5. You know that. I know that.
Once again, I have yet to speak on this topic, and you're putting words in my mouth that are not about to come out of my mouth because I don't know that. All I know is that in the biggest picture, I'll take Amari and his connection with Dak over Tyreek and his quasi-connection with Mahomes. Because if I look at what's happened over the last 2 years, I'm the first to jump out there and tell you, no, Amari is not a road warrior, he's a road weenie. And he has disappeared at Jets, at Patriots, at Eagles, as we saw last year. And it still didn't matter. His numbers were still way beyond Tyreek's numbers. And if I look at just the season as a whole, it was still a really good season. That's why Jerry just gave him $100 million. That if he could ever get motivated, get a fire lit, which maybe CeeDee Lamb will help relight on the road, you're going to have you might have Michael Thomas is what you might have. But he has a very special wavelength with Amari Cooper and with Dak Prescott. And here's the point. Look at the last 2 years. Tyreek's biggest game over the last 2 years is 10 catches for 215 yards. Well, wait a second. Amari has 10 for 217, and he's also got an 11 for 226 yards. So he's had 2 games bigger than Tyreek's best game over these last 2 years that Amari has been a Dallas Cowboy. And wait a second, Tyreek isn't the best receiver on his own team. Travis Kelce is. I mean, obviously, Mahomes' security blanket.
We're not using tight ends.
No, we are. They're receivers. They catch just like the wide receivers catch. You should know that.
Okay,
that's how you got in the Hall of Fame.
If you're going to use that one, well, then how is Dak and Amari better than walking to and Wentz and Zach Ertz? Since you went there, yes.
Well,
Since you took it there, I'm going to take it right back to you.
We're talking about these connections.
No.
Yeah. Okay, well,
no, but you just
I think I'm going to finish on what I'm talking about.
Go ahead.
Okay, Travis Kelce caught almost 100 balls last year from Mahomes boy. Tyreek caught 58. Yes. It was 97 to 58. He almost doubled him. Really? And you're making a case that they have special connection?
Skip, wasn't he hurt?
A couple of games.
Wasn't Tyreek hurt?
Okay, time out.
No, he missed 4 games.
I think I'm speaking. I think I'm speaking, and I'm getting interrupted once again. Travis Kelce had 136 balls thrown to him last year to Tyreek's only 89 in targets. Sammy Watkins had one more target than Tyreek did, and they both missed games. So to me, I don't know. He's almost like a luxury. He's almost like icing on the cake. He's certainly not the go-to receiver that Amari is because, yeah, I got it. It was 56 catches at home and only 27 catches on the road. But wait a second. Amari had 79 total catches to Tyreek's 58. And that's with basically missing those games on the road when he didn't do anything. 79 to 58. He had 119 targets to only 89 for Tyreek. Wow. Guess what? Yards per catch. 15.1 for Amari last year, which I thought was a bad year, to 14.8 for Tyreek. So even in yards per catch, he was a little better than Tyreek. 8 touchdowns to 7. Okay, I'll take that. I think 1,200 yards to 860 yards, yeah, I'll really take that because the stats tell you bang, 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 bang. Amari just had a better year last year than Tyreek. So because they have such a special rapport, mostly at home, I give you at home, but it is so lethal at home that, yeah, I'll put them above Mahomes and Tyreek. They're just better. They're more productive in the bigger picture than Mahomes to Tyreek is. So, yeah, you went on and on about that. I'm sorry, I'm going to stop you. And I just ended this debate that Amari had better, he just had better numbers across the board last year than Tyreek did.
And you know good and well, Tyreek was hurt last year. He missed 4 games. Amari Cooper not showing up on the road is not the equivalent because he was in uniform.
Amari missed 8 games. He missed 8.
When?
On the road.
Skip, you don't get to count.
He did nothing on the road.
Skip, was the man in uniform? Was he in uniform? A simple no or a simple yes? Okay, the season
there's no
in
simple
2018.
To it. No.
Yes. Skip. First of all, this is how it works, Skip. You can't say, because if you show up on the job and don't do any work, it's not the same as you not showing up at all. He did show up. He might have not put no work in while he was at work, but he did show up. Tyreek missed games. Tyreek did not come to work. Skip, it's not the same, and you know it.
It's the same when you add up the numbers because he got no numbers out of 3 road games in particular. At the Jets, he caught 1 ball for 3 yards and took himself out of the game for reasons never explained. At Patriots, he couldn't catch the ball. Wait a second. He had no catches against the Patriots, against Stephon Gilmore, took himself out of the game and pouted on the sideline. Against the Eagles, he had next to nothing in production, and it got so bad he was running half-hearted routes, and Jason Garrett yanked him. So I'm just saying, okay, you got me there, but it balances out. Missed 4 games. He missed the equivalent of 4 games on the road in production. But, man, you add up the rest of it, it ain't even close. It's not close, Shannon. the connection of Dak to Amari is much more explosive than the connection of Mahomes to Tyreek. It just is. Period. End of story. Shannon, who was the number one receiver for the Cowboys? It was Amari Cooper. The number one receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs was Travis Kelce.
Think about what you just said. You just said Amari Cooper and Dak Prescott is more explosive than Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill. Think about what you just said. Now, I'm going to give you an opportunity to retract that statement because you know. Skip, first of all, Amari Cooper not showing up because he can't get open, because he's not getting balls thrown his way over 8 games on the road is not the same as Tyreek Hill not being in uniform at all. Tyreek Hill in 2018, when he was totally healthy, he caught 87 passes, 1479, and 12 touchdowns. Amari Cooper never had a season like that. Never. Never. Ever.
Well,
so Skip, stop this.
Wait. If Amari Cooper had come to Dallas for game 1 of 2018 instead of game 8, he would have had beyond those numbers. If you project his numbers from the back end of that season into the front end and add them up, it's beyond. Shannon, he is a lethal route runner. He is a run-after-catch machine. He is a touchdown waiting to happen. He is extraordinary. He is a more consistent catcher of the deep ball than Tyreek is. If you look at their 20-plus yard catch rate, let's just do last year. Catch rate deep. Let's see, 63% for Dak to Amari on deep balls thrown over 20 yards. 63% were caught by Amari. Only 53% by Tyreek from Mahomes. So, again, there are a lot of misfires when Mahomes is just forcing balls to Tyreek deep when he's double covered and can't get to it. Amari is a much more skilled receiver on deep balls than Tyreek is. If Tyreek blows past you by 10 yards, you got a chance to hit a home run. But listen, Amari, as much as I despised him on the road last year, at home against the Eagles and the Vikings and the Packers, they couldn't cover him. He was a touchdown waiting to happen.
Skip, the mere fact that you've seen what, as a matter of fact, think about, I'm going to leave it like this here. When did they double team Amari Cooper when they played when the Patriots played them? They put Stephon Gilmore on him and said, that's it. They doubled, they tripled Tyreek after what he did to them in New England. You remember he went to New England and caught 3 tons for like $150? And then Coach Belichick says, we're going to double him and take him away? They didn't do that to Amari. It's not even close. And you're going to talk about deep threat. Skip Bayless. Tyreek Hill is the best deep threat in football. Nobody has as many 40-yard touchdowns. Nobody has as many bomb plays as this young man. See, and that's what I talked to Steve last night. They didn't include tight ends. If you include tight ends, yes, Kelce and Mahomes are better than Amari and Dak. Zach Ertz, they walk into him, are better than Amari and Dak. But they didn't put that. They said, we're going to stick straight to receivers. That's what we're sticking straight to receivers. Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers, Adam Thielen and First Cousins are better. Skip Bayless, and you're going to talk about Amari Cooper.
I don't get it. Time out. If Tyreek's as lethal as you say he is, if he's just a home run waiting to happen on every play, single or double coverage, no matter, then why wouldn't they throw him the most balls? Why wouldn't he have the most catches? Amari had the most catches on his team, even catching nothing on the road. He still had the most targets on his team, even despite no production on the road. So wait a second. Travis Kelce has almost 100 catches to only, wait a second, this is terrible, way down, only 58 catches for Tyreek. He almost doubles him 100 to 58. Yeah. Well, that should show you he's the second option. You can't tell me. Amari was the first option for a year and a half for the Dallas Cowboys, and it wasn't even close.
Oh, but on the road, he gave you second and third option numbers. So you good with that?
No, I hated it. I didn't think he deserved $100 million. I'm just saying their connection is more consistently lethal than the other connection. I'm sorry. In the end, realize
it's harder to complete deep balls than it is that little intermediate stuff. Tyreek Hill is a deep ball threat. Now, we'll see this year. If they're both healthy, we'll see what the numbers compute out over the season. That's what you like using. You like using caveats, so I'm going to use one. Let's see, they're both healthy. I'm not talking about he didn't show up on the road. Both of these guys are in uniform for 16 games. We'll see what the numbers say. I don't think we have any debate between the first two. I think you think Drew Brees and Mike Thomas, Julio and Matt Ryan. I can give you that. But I'm not did Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, did everybody forget about them? Thielen and Cousins, do they not exist? If we're just doing quarterback, wide receiver combo, now tight end, if you throw those in there, everybody's going to have to come down. I'm dropping everybody down. Zach Ertz and Walker Toombs going to be in the third or fourth spot, and Kelsey's going to be right behind them. But that's not what they included. But I'm taking Tyreek. Tyreek. I'll take Tyreek over Amari any day of the week.
I thought you've told me consistently on this show, Aaron Rodgers just doesn't have any help. And now you're telling me that his connection with Devontae is top 4 in the league. That's pretty great. I think he has a lot of help.
Still, that's one guy. Okay, well, he had Julian Edelman. Tom Brady had Julian Edelman. You say he didn't have any help. A guy that won Super Bowl MVP. And Tom Brady doesn't have any help? Oh, okay then. See? You see what I did there?
No, timeout. Julian Edelman had 3 serious injuries that made him a shell of himself. He needed shoulder surgery at the end of the year. So Brady had no help, and Pro Football Focus said his receivers had the least separation in the league. Now, before we leave this topic, you hit and ran on my man Kyler Murray. Now that he has DeAndre Hopkins, I'm going to suggest to you that next year, I hear you, they have not had one snap played together yet in this league. But I will bet you that combination will evolve into something that challenges Drew Brees and Michael Thomas for the #1 spot on this list. It is going to be devastating what Kyler will do with DeAndre Hopkins in Arizona. Watch and weep, because it is going. In fact, I could see this thing going 120 catches maybe next year for DeAndre, maybe 1,500 yards, maybe 15 touchdowns. It'll be big Michael Thomas numbers next year for a team that I'm already predicting will make the wild card, the Arizona Cardinals.
Skip, you do realize, you remember that game against Philly in which Devontae Adams had that toe injury and missed like a month of the season? Oh, you remember that, right? Yeah. Because you quick to point out anytime Tom Brady, somebody can have a thumbnail or a toenail injury. Oh, Tom Brady, he got no help. The guy got a toenail. He need to get his nails filed. This guy misses time, and you don't want to acknowledge that.
What are we talking? I thought I just talked about Kyler Murray, and now what are you talking about? You lost me on that one.
I ain't talking about no Kyler Murray. I'm not talking about any duos that's not play. Skip, you can't say because Whitney Houston had a great voice, Marvin Gaye had a great voice, they're going to be the greatest duo ever. They've never sung together. Give me Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell. Give me Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers. Okay, I've heard them. I've seen these other duos play together. We've never seen Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins play together. So we don't know what they're going to be.
Well, you told me Kyler was going to have a hard time, and I didn't see him have a hard time last year when they won 5 games and tied 1, and he was the offensive rookie of the year. So you were wrong the first go-around, and he's going to make that Lamar-like leap in round 2 next year. So I'm just warning you, I'm going out on the limb early, as I always do, and to try to show you how wrong you're going to be.
Oh, he's going to be the MVP?
Skip, I
because
like
Mahomes
that about
won the MVP
Kyler.
in the second year.
I like it.
No mercy.
Earlier this week, Michael Jordan's agent, David basketball said that in today's NBA, MJ would have averaged 50 to 60 points with no hand checking. He also added that he would have shot 75% from the floor and would have been virtually unstoppable. Shannon, is there any truth to all that?
No. One of the best and worst things that's happened in 2020 is The Last Dance. It's been great because with the COVID-19, there's no sports going on, no live sports going on, Skip. And so there's not anything for us to watch and take our time away. And so we've been focused on this, and kudos to ESPN for releasing it early and giving us something to talk about. But what is also the downside is that everybody starts to embellish. You know, the home run that Mickey Mantle hit out of old Detroit Tiger Stadium, Skip, is now at 700 feet. It started out at 505, and then it went to 525, then it went to 550, then it went to 600. And now, almost 50 years later, it's at 40 years later, Skip, it's at 700 feet. And that's what we see with Michael Jordan. Now, he averaged a tick over 30, I think 30.14. I think Wilt is 30.12 for a career. Now, Michael Jordan has 31. Check the 31 career 50-point games. But he's supposed to do that for 82 games in a season. Now, the Wilt is the only man ever to average 50 points a game. And it took him 39 shots, Skip, to do that. And, now, mind not, it took him 39 shots, and all Wilt are shooting are dunks, layups, and little sky hooks. And he shot 50% from the floor. And he made 10 free throws a night and averaged 50. So Wilt has 118 50-point games. He has more than the next 5 closest players combined. Let that sink in for a second. But Michael Jordan, you see, Skip, if he want to say, well, you know what, I believe in today's game, Michael could probably average somewhere around 35 because we see what James Harden is doing. So imagine what James Harden is doing, 35 points a night. Michael Jordan is going to get 15 more points per night. Man, stop, Skip, Lord. Michael is great. He doesn't need embellishing. He doesn't need it. But it's not good enough. He would average 50 or 60. Skip, you know damn well Michael Jordan ain't averaging no 50, 60 points in no game. Do you know how many shots it's going to take him to get up? That's why he only averaged 37 one year, the toll that it took. And when you average it out, he averaged 34 career. Man, they start to get on my nerve with all this embellishment. And Michael Jordan was this. If you didn't know better, Michael Jordan won every single game, scored 52 points in every single game, and they won the finals every single year. You do realize they had finals in the 80s. They just didn't resume the finals in 91 once Michael started winning. They had them from the very first time he entered the NBA. And even when he left, when he was with the Wizards, they played finals. So stop this, Skip. He's not averaging no 50. He's not averaging no 60. If you want to say somewhere between 35 and 38, I might be willing to go there. But he's not averaging 50 or 60 points a game. That's not happening.
I am loving this. It is killing you, and I am loving it because the truth is finally being revealed for all to see, even the blind witnesses who idolize and blindly defend LeBron James, led by the king of the king worshipers, the guy I'm looking down the barrel at right now, who's up in his palatial estate up in Bel Air, and he swept under his thick pile carpet up there. I don't know, maybe he's got hardwood floors. I have no idea. But the fact that, yeah, Michael did average 37 one year, 1987, be 86-87 season. That was after he had scored 49 and 63 at Boston Garden against the Celtics in 2 playoff games. So he came off those games, off the 63-point game, and averaged 37 in an era in which they allowed defenders to play football, the game that you know the best. Football was played in the NBA in the late 80s, and it wasn't just hand checking that was allowed. It was clutching and grabbing and shoving and hard fouling. There was no such thing really as a flagrant foul. You had to hospitalize somebody to get a flagrant foul in the late 80s. It was just seen part of the game that you hard fouled any and everybody, superstars also included. They were not protected in the late 80s. So, yeah, Jordan took huge punishment to average 37 a game in 87 that he would not have to take now. So if I took 1987, 37-point a game, Michael Jordan, put him into now, when, as David Falk, his agent, said they play virtually no defense, which is virtually true on a nightly basis. There is no hand checking allowed. He could easily average 50 easily. He was the greatest mid-range jump shooter we have ever seen. He was virtually automatic from mid-range, 15, 17, 14 feet. He could separate, wheel and deal, shake and bake, and create separation with hang time like we'd never seen before. And he was sweet shooting it off the glass. The glass was his friend. The bank was open often for Michael Jordan, and not just because he was selling so many sneakers. He was making so many glass shots, sweet, soft bank shots that allowed him to be the most lethal mid-range shooter we've ever seen, which is obviously LeBron's biggest flaw and weakness, the biggest hole in LeBron's game.
This is not
he
about
doesn't
LeBron,
have
this is
much
about
of a
Jordan.
mid-range jump shot. Well, I'm just trying to tell you, the GOAT argument is being finished once and for all because, yeah, that's true. Michael won 10 scoring titles to LeBron's 1. And, yeah, if you dropped that 1987 Michael into now, are you kidding me? And David Falk quoted Rory Sparrow, another one of his clients, a 12-year point guard in the league who was seen as one of the smartest players of that era. Rory Sparrow told David Falk, if you doubled Michael, he could score 100% of the time. If you tripled him, he'd score 50% of the time, which brought us back to that closeout game against the Lakers in the 91 finals when Michael broke through. And what did we see in the closeout game? Phil, early in the game, first quarter, telling Michael in a sideline huddle, hey, who's going to be open? Well, Paxson was, because they were triple teaming Michael Jordan because he had destroyed them in games 2, 3, and 4 in ways Magic's Showtime Lakers had never been destroyed. They could not contend with him. So, yeah, finally, three Lakers are following Michael everywhere he goes, and they were having a hard time. And Phil said, Michael, who's going to be open? Well, they're not even guarding John Paxson, who's a fine mid-range jump shooter in his own right.
Yes.
So he wasn't shooting threes. He was shooting twos. He was getting open 15-foot jumpers on the wing, and he made 9 out of 12 two-point shots, not 1 3-point shot. That's how open he was. I'm sorry. You know what? 60 would be a possibility if you took 87, Jordan, because you want to talk about assassin, killer will, bring it every night, attack mode like I've never seen. Yeah, 50 for sure, 60 maybe.
Skip, if that's the case, why didn't it, when he was double and triple team against the bad boy Pistons, why didn't he get 50? It's just like now.
Because they were knocking him on his butt.
Okay, if we're going to put Jordan in today's game, you see how when James Harden get cooking, they start doubling and tripling and get the ball out of his hand. Just like Kobe in his historic season, they started doubling and tripling and getting the ball out of his hands. That's what they would do to Mike. Skip, first of all, you're not scoring 50 in today's game. You're not scoring 60. And see, that's the thing. Everybody, and I know everybody's era was the toughest. Everybody's era had the best players. But it's hard for me that evolution, that human beings have gotten bigger, stronger, and faster. What about athletes that have ends to spend on the best nutrition, the best therapists, the best trainers? But now, Michael, Skip, stop this. Man, look, it's okay. It is okay. Jordan was great. If you want to say he's the greatest player of all time, okay, fine. I'm done with it. I know who I think is, but this embellishment has got to go. So I guess if we put LeBron James back in the 50s at 6'9", 250, what was he going to average? He probably averaged 45 points a night, right? Since we doing it like that, because they were so small. There's a thing called evolution. There was a time the offensive linemen weighed 180 to 200 pounds. Now they're between 295 and 315, Skip. People get bigger. They get stronger. They get faster. This notion, oh, they don't play no defense, stop it. James Harden is as skilled as anyone. Can shoot the three better than Jordan. Gets to the free throw line just as much. Good with either hand. He had 36 last year. Kobe one year had 35. Jordan Best was 37. Wilt has, 4 of the highest 5, 6 scoring averages in NBA history. Wilt shot 50% from the field. Customary. Just about every year he led the league in field goal percentage while leading the league in scoring. Man, stop.
Wilt Chamberlain was 7 feet 1 inches tall, and he was a track star at Kansas University. I give you that.
Yes.
Freakish size and athletic ability. Freakish.
Yes.
But the all-time freakiest athlete I ever witnessed in my time, my many years covering all these games, was Michael Jeffrey Jordan. I've never seen such cat quickness with such strength and acrobatic and gymnastic ability, all rolled into one with such killer will. James Harden is supremely skilled. I give you that. But when it comes to killer will, when it comes to athletically, competitively slit your throat, James doesn't have that. He's never had that. Hence, playoff disappearances against my Spurs and against the Golden State Warriors. It's just not the same. Michael brought it on a nightly basis in ways I've never seen anybody bring it every dribble of every game. He was possessed.
What about Kobe?
He was obsessed. He was driven, even beyond Kobe. I've never seen anything like it. I loved Kobe, but he wasn't quite there in all-out nightly fire the way Michael was. And in the end, I've got to read the one money quote from David Falk, because this sums it up for me. He says, for anyone watching The Last Dance, unless you're legally blind, you can't possibly think there's another player who ever played who is remotely in the same league with Michael Jordan. That's it. It's just period, end of story. And I'm so thankful that even the blind witnesses out there who are watching The Last Dance are having their eyes opened to the fact, the historical, all-time, game-over fact. Jordan was just better than anybody, especially LeBron James. And I appreciate ESPN for airing this documentary. And it's not exaggerating or embellishing. It's enlightening all of us. It's even reminding me of just how great Jordan was. And I covered The Last Dance.
Well, Skip, since you're going to put it like that, I'm going to say if Jerry Rice had played in today's game, he would have 2,500 receiving yards in the season. And Lawrence Taylor would have 30 sacks. Reggie White would have 30 sacks. In a game like today, Skip, stop this notion. Okay, like I said, I believe LeBron is the GOAT. Okay, many people do not. If you just because you don't believe, that doesn't mean you have to embellish. Oh, he'll shoot 75% from the floor. Wilt Chamberlain with dunks, Dwight Howard, Ben Wallace, guys, DeAndre Jordan, all they do is dunk and lay the ball up. Never shot 75% from the floor. Now Michael Jordan is going to shoot 75% from the floor, shooting jumpers? Man, Skip, stop this. No, that's what I'm saying. And remember, if you tell one lie, Skip, I don't get upset when people lie to me. I get upset because you know why I don't get upset, Skip? For the simple fact, it's not that you lied to me. It's the fact that I can't believe anything else that comes out of your mouth. The fact that he said he would shoot 75%, I'm done. The fact that he said 50, 60%, I'm done. Even if Michael Jordan was considered the GOAT, I can't believe anything that he says because he's dispelled that by putting out bullshit.
No mercy.
So after the draft, CeeDee Lamb said he wanted to wear number 10 after being selected by the Cowboys. But earlier this week, Jerry Jones said he hoped CeeDee would wear 88 because it was the same number of Jerry's late college teammate, whose last name was also Lamb. 88, of course, was worn by Drew Pearson, Michael Irvin, and Dez Bryant for the Cowboys. So, Skip, is this a good idea or a bad one?
You know, I have slept on this a couple of nights. I have tried to wrap my mind around it, my arms around it, and I just can't. The more I think about it, the worse it gets. This is so unfair to CeeDee Lamb and so wrong-headed by Jerry Jones. So let's reiterate quickly. CeeDee wore number 2 at Oklahoma, and I'm sure he would probably want to wear number 2 in Dallas, except the NFL dictates wide receivers wear 10 to 19 or 80 to 89. So he says, he chooses, he even tweets, I'm choosing number 10 in honor of DeAndre Hopkins, because remember, CeeDee grew up in a Houston suburb called Richmond through the early years of DeAndre as a Houston Texan. It was his idol, his role model, the player he patterned himself after, and who actually his game fits the best is DeAndre Hopkins, okay? But here we have Jerry being Jerry being a little kooky, a little off-kilter, and a whole lot of runaway train, because we have Jerry who played with a teammate named Jerry Lamb, who was a receiver who wore number 88. So let's see, we have Jerry Jones plus CeeDee Lamb equals Jerry Lamb, because Jerry Lamb became a close confidant and lifelong friend of Jerry Jones. He passed, did Jerry Lamb, last December. So on draft night, Jerry thinks it's a sign from above that all of a sudden CeeDee Lamb falls from number 6 on their draft board all the way into their laps at 17. And he sat back on draft night. He told Todd Archer of ESPN, and after the smoke cleared after the first pick, he's thinking, oh my God, this is fate. This is destiny. I'm going to have CeeDee Lamb wear Jerry Lamb's number to pay tribute to my friend, confidant, and teammate at Arkansas. And obviously, CeeDee Lamb has no idea who Jerry Lamb is, because nobody does. That was a great team. 1964 Razorbacks won the national championship, went 11-0, beat Nebraska in the Cotton Bowl. Okay, we get that. But Jerry is not thinking clearly that while 88 was Jerry Lamb's number, it's also the most hallowed number in Cowboy history. It's Drew Pearson, Michael Irvin, Dez Bryant, and now the message is, son, you're on a Hall of Fame trajectory. We're giving you 88, and welcome to the Hall of Fame in 20 years or whenever it's going to be. It's wrong, because it's not what this young man who just turned 21 years of age wanted. Why would you heap that on him, that pressure, that expectation? Do I believe he can live up to? I told you. He can stand up and live up to it. He's the best receiver in the draft. But why tempt fate? Why not let him earn his way into Cowboy lore by actually performing on the field? He hasn't taken one snap in the NFL, and you're bequeathing him 88 just because you're thinking it's Jerry Lamb's number, when no, it's worn by one Hall of Famer, Michael Irvin, and another who should have been in the Hall of Fame years ago in Drew Pearson. Dez had a Hall of Fame stretch for 4 years before he hit the wall. But again, we're talking about historical greatness that's been heaped upon the head of this kid when he does not want it. So, Jerry, you did something no owner's ever done. Your great first-round pick, your bonanza of a first-round pick, your hit-the-lottery pick, you're saying, I'm going to put 88 on you whether you like it or not, because I don't think CeeDee liked it. And you didn't let him become who he wanted to be, DeAndre Hopkins. Jerry, once again, out of line.
Skip, I agree 1,000% with what you said. Jerry, you want to honor your team, your former teammate, your former best friend. That wasn't his wish. His wish was to wear number 10 so he can honor DeAndre Hopkins, a guy that he felt modeled his game after, a guy that he idolized. Skip, even though he might have not explicitly said it, the implicit, I would want if he'd be amenable to wearing 88. Skip, if you want to honor your friend, do like what Mr. Kraft. Mr. Kraft had the MK, who was his wife who passed, had the symbol. I think it was stitched on their jersey. I think they stitched it on the jersey, Skip. Yeah. You can petition the league to do that, Skip. Do that. What if Mr. Kraft would have said, you know what? My wife, Myra, her favorite number was 83. 83. Some receiver they draft, N'Keal Harry, that was Myra's favorite number. Won't you wear that number? Because I want, Skip, that's what he did. That's what he did. He took him and him wanting to honor someone and bestowed it upon this man, even though that wasn't his wishes. Skip, I understand, Jerry, that's a very close friend of yours, and you should be able to honor them how you want to, but you shouldn't force me, or you shouldn't force that on someone else that says, well, that was his number, and I'm giving you that number. Skip, that's wrong. But that's Jerry. He doesn't get it. He doesn't see anything wrong with it, Skip. He's like, well, I drafted a kid in the first round. I'm going to give him a ton of money. So, let the man live his life. He said he wanted 10. If he'd have wanted 88, Skip, no problem whatsoever. If that's what he wanted. But I believe players should be allowed to choose their number. Man, this is so wrong with Jerry Jones. I don't care if you paying that man $100 million. He's earned it. He went to high school, did well, got a scholarship, did well. He got drafted. Don't bestow what you want on him. Let him live out his dreams. Skip, I'd have been so disappointed if Mr. Beaver said, I want you to wear this and not let me have 84. I'd have been very upset. And I wouldn't have done it. I'd have got another number. No, you're not finna tell me what. No, I'm grown. But that's Jerry. But like he said, Skip, I'm the entertainment here. You do what I say, and hate happen again. But this is wrong with Jerry.
Exactly. So I got to read one of my all-time favorite weird Jerry quotes about Jerry Lamb. Jerry says, let me tell you one thing. If CeeDee's got the compete and heart of that Jerry Lamb, he'll be bad to the bone. I've never heard the word compete used as a noun. If he's got the compete of Jerry Lamb, competitiveness, compete was a verb. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I'm giving you a little grammar lesson here because Jerry it's a Jerryism. If he's got the compete of Jerry Lamb, he's going to be bad to the bone, okay? That's weird. So I looked up Jerry Lamb's stats last night for the 1964 Razorbacks national championship team. Shannon, as a receiver, and again, this is in the era of run the football, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Right. Jerry Lamb, for the whole season, 11 games, he caught 16 balls, 16 passes for 213 yards. My friend Terrell Owens once caught 20 passes in one game for the 49ers, which happened to come on Jerry Rice Day, but he caught 20 in a game. Jerry Lamb caught 16 in 11 games, and Jerry Jones is saying, if he's got the compete of Jerry, and I'm sure Jerry Lamb was great. I'm sure he was a team leader and a tough guy and a tone setter, but he caught 16 passes.
Skip. Can I ask you a question? Did they draft receivers? Did receivers play in the NFL in the 60s? Because if he had so much compete, why didn't he go to the next level? Guys that can compete, got that compete in them, guess what they do, Skip? They ascend to the next level. Guys that got that compete in high school, they go to college. And guys that are good and got that compete go to the NFL. I never heard of Jerry Lamb. I mean, Jerry Lamb. I
didn't either.
Man.
Yeah, like Lance Allworth or Don Hudson or Boyd Dowler.
Yes.
I know those guys. Those white guys from the 60s. I know those guys. I'd never heard of Jerry Lamb, but Jerry Jones loves him. And now CeeDee Lamb is carrying on the 16-catch legacy of the great Jerry Lamb. Way to go, Jerry Jones.
Yeah, and you selected a guy with the 17th overall pick, and you're wondering if he has the compete of your former teammate. You probably should have figured that out long before you selected him. If he got to compete. Huh? Skip.
Yeah.
Man, Jerry
You know what? I agree with you. You know, I was thinking of this last night as I thought about this topic. Did Jerry Jones really even know who CeeDee Lamb was on that Thursday night draft night? Did he watch tape?
Lamb.
Again, I'm a University of Oklahoma football fan, so I watched every snap CeeDee took for 3 years at OU.
Yes.
I know him. I told you before the draft, he's the #1 in this draft. He's the alpha. But
Right.
Jerry, I don't know that he would even know CeeDee's game very well, because I don't think Jerry breaks down game tape. I think he knows the draft board. But they didn't even interview CeeDee Lamb because they thought they had no shot at him.
If Jerry would have said, if he has the speed like my former college teammate, okay. But competing is what CeeDee does. Do you see all the tackles he breaks and still get the ball into the end zone? So competition is probably one of his strongest attributes. Is competing. Competing for the jump ball. Oh, my goodness.
What can you say?
True.
And Dez tweeted, "Be you, be great, CeeDee." So guess he's on board.
No mercy.
An anonymous AFC coach said that the Packers drafting Jordan Love to back up Aaron Rodgers is very similar to when the Broncos drafted Tommy Maddox to back up John Elway in 1992. Elway made it clear afterwards he was upset with the pick because he wanted a receiver, but the message from Coach Dan Reeves was that he was in control and not Elway, which is very similar to what we're seeing in Green Bay. So, Shannon, you were there. How similar are these situations?
They're very similar, Skip. I remember this like yesterday. Skip, we had just lost the AFC Championship game. And you remember what I told you this on Monday. We had just lost the AFC Championship game. We lost 10-7 to Buffalo. They would go on to later lose. And John, knowing, seeing our situation, wanted a receiver. John wanted someone that he felt could help us win. And the selection of a quarterback, John's thinking, hell, everybody's thinking, how the hell is this guy going to help us win? Now, Skip, remind you, John was just going into his 10th season. John was drafted in 83. 92 would have been his 10th NFL season. So John was about 32, and he's playing well. And this happens. Now, there had been some rumblings. And, Skip, okay, Skip, I'm just going to go ahead and give a little bit. I ain't going to give all the tea, but I'm going to give you a little bit of the tea. Now, it was told to me, John called his own plays. Back then, a lot of quarterbacks called their own plays. And John called his own plays. And so Mike Shanahan, who later became the head coach, was the offensive coordinator. John calling his own plays. Dan is thinking, I wonder what John's going to call here. Mike says, I believe he'll call this situation, he'll call this play. Lo and behold, John would call that play. They were scripting plays, but they didn't tell Dan. Dan fired Mike at the end of the season, took a quarterback. Now, prior to the 91 season, Skip, they had tried to trade John. People didn't know this. They had a deal. They were having a deal in place. They were having discussion with Washington. Mr. Bolin had to intervene and says, that's not happening on my watch. John Beat was the GM. Lyde Huggins was the player personnel director. They were doing this, Mr. Bolin let them have a lot of control. Dan had the ultimate say. They were going to move on from John, and Mr. Bolin nipped that in the bud. After the 92 season, they fired Coach Reeves. There was always bad blood. Skip, we would go to training camp. It was kind of like Green Bay. We rode bikes to practice. Everybody bring their bike up. We would ride bikes to practice, lock them up in the gymnasium, get on the bikes, go back. 2 people had golf carts. John Elway had a golf cart. Dan Reeves had a golf cart. They would drive by each other, not look at each other. And I'm like, I don't think that's how it's supposed to. Skip, I'm young, Skip. I'm not the player that I would become. I'm not really. But, I hear guys talking like, man, that thing is getting really contentious between Coach Reeves and John. I'm like, I just think it's odd they don't really do a whole lot of speaking unless it's on the practice field and it's, okay, play call, yada, yada, yada. But, Skip, what you're seeing here is that Dan wanted to show you might want a receiver. I run this ship. We're going to take what I want. Aaron Rodgers probably want a receiver, but what the general manager and the head coach say, we run this ship. You don't run nothing here but your mouth, and we're tired of it. So this is what we're going to do. And, Skip, it's hard to see a scenario that they're going to fire a guy that just went 13-3. So this might be a situation where John won that power struggle. Mr. Bolin fired Dan. I don't believe Aaron Rodgers will win this power struggle. And he will probably be the one that's going to have to uproot and take and plant somewhere else.
So, by the way, you said that John felt like he needed a receiver in that next draft after you lost 10-7 at Buffalo in the AFC Championship game. But I thought he had big play Shea. I thought he had Shannon Sharpe on a Hall of Fame trajectory. You caught 3 balls in the AFC Championship game. That's not enough. He needed 6 or 8 from his tight end, and you could only give him 3 against that Buffalo defense?
But here's the thing, Skip. But the next year, I went 7, 14. I think I caught 52. My third year, which was 92, Skip. And that's how it started because the receivers started getting nicked, and John would just feed me. I like, feed your boy, feed your boy. I'll put that work in back then, Skip. And then it took off. But, you know, the three amigos, Skip, they were starting to get old. And they were small. Everybody was going to the big receiver. You know, you saw the Jared Rices and the Sterling Sharps and the Michael Irvins. They was going to the big receivers, and we had these small receivers. When you have a small receiver, that's good, Skip, if they're open. But tough, contested throws, it gets hard for a guy that's 5'8", 5'9", as opposed to a guy that's 6'3", 6'4", or 6'2". And so John wanted someone that could help us now, not somebody that was going to help down the road. And John's like, oh, so that's what you want to do? That's how you want to play it? Okay, we'll play it like that then.
Okay, so John Elway was actually 31 when they drafted Tommy Maddox out of UCLA with the 25th overall pick. So it's similar, late first round, take a flyer on, because you were obviously in the AFC Championship game, so you're drafting at the bottom of the first round. And yet it's surprising to me that John had... He didn't have his best year that year, but I think he was very unhappy. To your point, he was 13 touchdowns to 12 interceptions, but you did go 12-4. You did get to the championship game. You did lose a 3-point game, not a 30-point game. And yet John was quoted as saying recently that there's no way he would have come back the next year if Dan Reeves had still been there, because he said the previous 3 years, to your point, had been hell. He was not having fun being coached by Dan Reeves. And it had gotten so contentious that one of them did have to go. And to your point, Mr. Bolin stepped in and had to pick a side. But I'm surprised he didn't pick a side before the draft, which was in what, April, I assume that year, sometime in April. Why didn't he go ahead and take his stand against Dan Reeves before the draft? Because it sounds like Dan had a lot of input into taking Tommy Maddox to provide him some leverage against John Elway, right?
Well, Skip, I'm not so sure that that Dan divulged everything about what they were going to take. I'm not so sure that Mr. B knew that he was going to take, because Mr. B was very hands-off, Skip. He wasn't one of those owners that, he might be sitting there, and if they took a kicker, he's like, oh, he must be pretty good. He trusted. When Mr. B hired someone, Skip, he trusted them to do their job. He put Dan, and Dan had John Beek and Lyde Huggins. He trusted them to do their job. I'm glad John said it, because, Skip, I could sense it, but like I said, Skip, I wasn't observant. Hell, I'm just trying to keep my job. I'm not worried about somebody else getting the job. But you knew, Skip, you knew it was just like, because most of the conversation was between Mike and John. And I understand the offensive coordinator is going to be close, but they had a very, very, very close relationship. And because remember, Skip, he was when Mike came back, Skip, because Mike came back in 90 because he had got fired from the Raiders. Remember, he was John's original coordinator. He gets the head job at Oakland. Al Davis fires him 20 games into his season. He comes back after 20 games. He comes back. He starts off. He was not the offensive coordinator. Chan Galen was the coordinator. Chan Galen gets the job at Birmingham. Then Mike gets promoted to OC. Man, Skip. I'm glad John telling this, because I ain't want to put all the business out there, Skip.
I got it. So here's the point. John was only 31, and clearly he had a whole lot left in the tank, because he made 6 more Pro Bowls after that. And obviously, thanks in part to you also and Terrell Davis a lot, he won 2 Super Bowls. He played in 2 more and won 2 Super Bowls after he'd gotten blown out in the 3 previous that he had played to the drafting of Tommy Maddox. So Tommy Maddox comes in, and the next year, you'll remember, 92, John got hurt and missed 4 games, and Tommy played 4 games and wasn't very good. He went 0 for 4 in those 4 games, and I witnessed one because I was covering the Cowboys, who on December 6th of that year played at your place, right? Remember this one? And my Cowboys won 31-27. Do you remember that? And I don't know what happened to Sharpe, but he caught only 3 balls for 16 yards. I don't know. Maybe it's Tommy Maddox's fault. I don't know. I didn't notice Shannon Sharpe that day.
They were using your boy as a fullback. Skip, John missed John got hurt early. John missed 8 games that year because he came back. We won a game, and we needed to beat Kansas City, and we would have been the wild card in 92. We ended up losing to Kansas City the last game of the season because that was when Coach Reeves was alternating Tommy Maddox and Sean Moore, kind of like what he did with Roger Staubach and Craig Morton, Skip. That was the first time I'd ever seen. I've seen running backs alternate series or wide receivers come in and out, but I had never seen a situation where quarterbacks, one quarterback would come in, run a play, he comes off the field, then the next quarterback would come in and run a play. And I'm like, this seems odd. But, Skip, it was really contentious there. And I think it's going to be like that in Green Bay this year, too.
So let me fast forward this into this current situation in Green Bay. The betting sites are telling you now that Green Bay's 13-3 was way overrated and fluky because Fox Bet, as we speak, has the over-under on Green Bay wins going to next year at 9. So they're saying the target is 9-7 next year. Caesars has the over-under right now at 8.5. They're saying it's just barely above a 500 target for the Green Bay Packers. So Gutekunst, the GM, and obviously LaFleur, the coach, they're seeing the handwriting of, wait a second, we know we weren't that great last year. We weren't 13-3 great, and we need to look to the future because Aaron wasn't as good as the numbers would indicate, and just because we got to the AFC Championship game and got blown out isn't indicative of where we're heading the next year and the next, hence Jordan Love. Well, all I know, bottom line is Jordan Love better be better than Tommy Maddox ever was. Tommy had a stint in Pittsburgh as the starter, and he was okay. But they need Jordan Love to be Aaron Rodgers for this to work out.
Skip, one of the things that rubbed John the wrong way is that the guy in his class, Dan Marino, was throwing for 15 trillion yards. And Dan was not allowing John to throw until we fell behind by 14 points. He saw Kelly. He saw Montana. He saw Warren Moon. All these guys being able to throw, and all he's doing is handoff. And he's like, well, wait a minute. I'm not a handoff type of guy. I can put up numbers just like they can. And it started, and everybody's like, when they started talking about great quarterbacks, they started really leaving him out of the conversation because his numbers wasn't reflective of just how great he was because Dan wouldn't allow him to throw the football. But we get behind, and then he's like, okay, John, go make miracles happen. He could do that, and that bothered John. And you see what John became once, Dan left, Jim Foster came as our offensive coordinator, and John had his only 4,000-yard season in 93. Thanks to your boy. Thanks to your boy, Skip.
You lived it, Shannon. You lived
No mercy.
Yesterday, Andy Dalton joined Joe Flacco and Cam Newton as veteran QBs in the free agent market. Tim Kaulashov, the Dallas Morning News, is calling for the Cowboys to sign one of the 3 vets as insurance in case something were to happen to Dak Prescott. So, Shannon, do the Cowboys need a proven backup for Dak Prescott?
I believe they do, and the Cowboys are the only team that doesn't think they need a quality backup, Skip. We saw how beneficial this was. The Eagles won a Super Bowl because they had a quality backup. Skip, you and I both know, I think we both can agree on this, that had the Eagles not had Nick Foles, they're not winning that Super Bowl. And the thing is now is that these veteran quarterbacks are cheap. We just saw Jameis Winston go for $1.1 million in base salary. He can earn another $3.4 million in incentives. Well, Jameis Winston made $20 million, almost $21 million last year. So that's a $20 million reduction in pay. Andy Dalton was scheduled to make, I guess, what, $17 million? So you can get him for the cheap. I mean, it's what, $1.2 million in base salary? So, Skip, you can get one of these, or Cam, you can get one of these guys for the cheap, Skip. I believe that they need, if something, and knock on wood, Skip, you do it all the time. And Dak, for the most part, he's only been banged up like the last 2 or 3 games of last year. So he's been a rock. He's been steady. But God forbid something were to happen. Cooper Rush is not taking you anywhere. If something were to happen to Dak and you have to play Cooper Rush, you might as well go on and get ready for the 2021 season because it's not going to happen. You better get somebody that's been there, that's playoff tested, that's gone to the playoffs and knows what it takes. Although Andy Dalton hasn't won a playoff game, Skip, I believe with the cast that they have around him, he wouldn't have to be spectacular in order for them to win a playoff game. We know what Cam has done. He's been an MVP. He's taken a team to the Super Bowl. He was former Rookie of the Year. So we know what Cam is. So they need someone other than Cooper Rush because if something happens to Dak, and I hope it doesn't, Skip, this season's over.
This is the first time all day today I completely agree with everything you just said. In fact, I want to thank my friend Tim Kalishaw for opening my eyes to this problem because I don't think about the problem because it hasn't been a problem for 4 years because Dak has been sensationally durable. He hasn't missed a game. And I am, as you say, I'm knocking on wood on my desk right here, right now, because, Shannon, all of a sudden it's not just about durability with Dak, it's about availability because I have been shocked and disappointed. He is a virtual holdout. I think he's going to be whatever camp there is, holdout. He might just be a holdout for games 1 and 2, the way Emmitt Smith was in the 1993 Cowboys season before Jerry had to cave in and sign him. Still don't think Emmitt got quite as much as a lot of people thought, but it took missing 2 games, 2 L's that the Cowboys took for that deal to get done. And it might be this one also this year. So I'm with you. I've watched Cooper Rush a lot for 3 preseasons, but I remind you, Shannon, he's undrafted out of Central Michigan. He looks the part at 6'3", 225, and he plays okay against second and third teamers in the preseason. He's had 8 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. He's okay, but I'm in no rush to see what Cooper Rush could do in place of Dak Prescott in the first 2 real games. No rush. And that's why the prospect of Andy Dalton, he's a native Texan from Katy, which is a Houston suburb, played at TCU, Texas Christian, which is in Fort Worth, part of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, fairly close to Jerry World. He's got the Texas connections, and frankly, a lot of people thought that Andy Dalton was a backup all those years in Cincinnati because he was kind of a backup quarterback masquerading as a starter. He did make 3 Pro Bowls. He did have some stretches of high-caliber quarterback play, but his mentality is such, he's such a good guy and great teammate. Yeah, he'd be the perfect backup. He's not going to make any waves or rattle any cages or cause any problems for Dak Prescott or Jerry Jones. He would be the perfect backup. But now I'm going to throw this at you because you brought up the name. You invoked Cam's name. If I could snap my fingers right now and have Cam Newton as my backup quarterback going into the season, yes, thank you, God, I'll take it. Now, how you would pay Cam, would he take $1.1 million to play for Dallas? I doubt it, but who knows? Maybe it'd be his best shot. I don't know. But if Cam thought he had a chance to actually get to play some next year for America's team, maybe. I'll say this for Dak. He's got such strong football character, such a football backbone to him. He seems so confident in himself. He wouldn't be threatened by Cam Newton as his backup the way, let's say, there's been speculation about Cam going to the Rams. I think Jared Goff would be threatened by Cam Newton. I think he might crumble a little bit under the pressure of having Cam Newton, former MVP, looking over his shoulder pads. But Dak, no, he would be just fine. And I would be just fine with the all-time former MVP insurance policy of Dak Prescott of Cam Newton as my backup to Dak. Again, I think this negotiation has gone completely south and is going nowhere slowly. So I'm hoping that they would land him as a backup quarterback, even over Andy Dalton, who might be a better long-term fit, obviously, as a backup quarterback.
Skip, here's the thing, though. Cam, you want to play football? All we have is $1 million, $1.1 million. You can either play for $1.1 million or you can go home and make nothing. Now, let me tell you what happened, Skip.
Okay.
The quickest thing I realized, Skip, after I was out of work for a couple of years, is that when you have money going out and you don't have any coming in, trust me, that'll deplete a savings and a retirement quicker than anything. Also, when I was a kid, Skip, I didn't really know the importance of insurance because we were never going to the doctor. So I didn't think insurance for what? If you had a toothache, my grandfather pulled a tooth. So I didn't know anything but as you get older, hopefully you never have to use insurance. But it's great to have just in case you do. You hope nothing ever happens to Dak Prescott, Skip. Boy, but it's a nice luxury to have if you got Cam or you got Andy Dalton as opposed to Cooper Rush. That's all I'm saying, Skip Bayless. So for me, when I look at it, the big money is not going to be there, Skip. Because why? Why would I pay a guy $3 million when there are no other teams out there that's offering that? It's not like they're getting into a bidding war. Well, like Sean Payton said, they wanted this guy, but he had committed to being a free agent for Carolina. Sean Payton said, well, we'll give you this. And his agent says, well, we've already committed to going to Carolina. Sean Payton trades back into the round because they have no more draft picks. He gives up a draft pick next year to take the guy in, I think, the 6th round, Skip. And he says, I was asking, now I'm taking.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Skip, so now the thing is, that's it. There are no bidding wars going on for Cam or Andy Dalton. So, Skip, it's not like they have their choice, like, well, I want to go here for $5 million or I can go there for, it's not there. It's a very small market and go to a fit. Now, I'm not saying, Skip, just go anywhere. Go somewhere that you think is going to be a good fit, that you're going to be able to learn and you can help if something were to happen. And I think the Dallas would be foolish not to at least kick the tires or interview or talk to virtual, however you're going to do it, however they do it now, Skip, Andy Dalton or Cam.
So here's the punchline to this discussion. Do you realize that very, very quietly back on March 18th, pandemic is starting to hit, NFL free agency is about to hit, a move was made in Dallas that went completely under the radar. Do you realize they re-signed Cooper Rush for $2.1 million? So Cooper Rush makes $1 million more going into next year than Jameis is going to make in New Orleans to back up Drew Brees. It's mind-blowing to me. But remember, Shannon, they did sign Kai Forbath or re-sign him as their kicker, and then Greg Zuerlein came available, and they said, whoops, okay, let's go sign him for a lot more money. So maybe they could figure out how to get out from under the Cooper Rush thing as quickly as possible in favor of a proven quality backup.
Well, Skip, if you've already given them guaranteed money, you can't recoup that, but you just basically eat it. And it seems to me Dallas should be or would be willing to eat, considering that Andy Dalton or Cam Newton would be your backup to Dak Prescott. And if something unforeseen happened, Skip, you would have to feel a lot more comfortable moving forward with Andy Dalton or Cam than you would Cooper Rush. Now, Skip, he can play. They might like what they've seen in practice. They might have seen enough in preseason games that we really like Cooper Rush. But I think I'm going to go with the proven commodities as opposed to an unproven commodity, especially with so much at stake. Skip, it's playoff or bust for the Cowboys. It ain't no more 9-7, 8-8. It's playoffs. It's winning divisions. It's going deep, Skip. Even playoffs not good enough. You need to get to the NFC Championship game. Possible Super Bowl for this thing to be a success.
Playoffs or bust. I agree with that one.
No mercy.
All right, Isiah Thomas was asked to give his top 5 players he ever played against. He had Kareem at 1, followed by Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. Michael Jordan fell all the way down into the 4th spot, and Isiah claimed that it was because in the 80s, MJ's teams just weren't as successful as the Lakers and Celtics. So, Shannon, do you agree with Isiah ranking Michael Jordan in that 4th spot?
I do, Skip, for the simple fact you got to realize Isiah got into the league in '81, Skip. That was a year after, basically 2 years after Larry and Magic were already there. And Skip, you do realize in the 80s, Magic went to 8 finals, 80, 82, 83, 84, 85, 87, 88, 89. Larry went 81, 84, 85, 86, 87, and the Pistons finally dethroned them in the Eastern Conference Final in 88. So in the bulk of the 80s, you had to get past, if Isiah was in the East, you had to overcome the big three Celtics. And you remember, Skip, in the early part of the 80s, it was the Sixers with Dr. J and Caldwell Jones, and George McGinnis was also there. Daryl Dawkins, Bobby Jones, Andrew Toney. You had to get past them. The Bulls, nobody cared about no Bulls. You remember, Skip, you remember the Bulls was getting swept. Milwaukee Bucks in 85. Beat them 3-1, because back then it was the first round was the best 3 out of 5. No, it was best 2 out of 3, then 3 out of 5. But you, Skip, you remember that. You remember that, right, Skip? The Bucks, Sidney Moncrief, Al Lister, Jackson, yeah, them. Well, got Michael right up by the playoffs. And then the big 3 Celtics said, let us get our turn at him. Swept him, Hoover vacuum, right on up out of there. And then the Pistons said, y'all done had y'all turn at him. Let us get our crack at him. Wah. But Skip, when you look at it, it's not like he put slouches. They make it seem like he's talking about Slava Medvedenko. Kareem got six MVPs, 5 titles, the most points in NBA history. Larry Bird is a 3-time MVP, consecutive, 2 finals MVP. Skip, you know what that man represents. And then Magic. Need I say anything about Magic Johnson? 3 MVPs, 3 final MVPs, 5 titles. So it's not like they're slouches. And remember, Skip, that's what he's talking about, the 80s. It would have been very interesting to see Michael Jordan have to get through the big 3 Celtics and then beat the prime Lakers back in the 80s. I'm not talking about an old 90s Lakers, because remember, 2 years earlier when the Pistons took them down, Larry Bird said they were old. Larry Bird said that's what Michael did. Michael beat an old team because we disposed of them. And Larry Bird said we had gotten old. That's why Michael then won. That's what he said. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what he said.
Enough of that. My turn. This is nothing but bitter, bad blood from Isiah Thomas, who still mistakenly holds it against Michael Jordan for keeping Isiah off a dream team that he didn't make on sheer ability. The decision makers decided he wasn't worthy of being on the 12-man roster, really 11, because one was a college kid. And I hark back to the quote I read you yesterday from the Magic Bird book. I'm quoting Magic Johnson. The book was called When the Game Was Ours. Magic says in the book, Isiah killed his own chances when it came to the Olympics. Nobody on that team wanted to play with him. Period. End of story. So I love Isiah. I love having him on the show. I have nothing but respect for him as a player, but they went with Magic at point guard on the 92 Dream Team and John Stockton, the all-time assist leader, as his backup point guard. And the first alternate to the point guard spot was not Isiah, it was Joe Dumars. So, again, this has been a constant theme of Isiah's. Even on our show in 2016, he basically said the same thing, that he ranks Michael Jordan down the list. So let's go to the top of the list, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. What happened to Kareem as a Laker for his first 4 years before Magic came out of college to join the Lakers? Right. What happened in those first 4 years? Kareem as a Laker, no Magic. 1976, they went 40-42 and missed the playoffs. Next year, swept in the conference finals by Portland. Next year, lost to Seattle in a best-of-3 first round, 2-1. Next year, final year before Magic came, lost to Seattle in the conference semifinal, 4-1, almost a sweep, a gentleman's sweep. Kareem couldn't do it without Magic because he needed a leader. Kareem was more of a follower than a tone-setting leader. And Magic walked in the door and took that team over. You know it, and I know it. In the first go-around as a rookie, they go to the finals, led by Magic, and win the finals in 6 games. Kareem getting hurt, turning his ankle before Game 6, Magic playing center in place of Kareem and winning and closing the deal in a 6-game finals victory for a rookie Magic's Lakers. Now let's get to Magic and Bird. They were both in awe of Michael Jeffrey Jordan. They spoke awe. What did Larry Bird say after Michael Jordan scored 63 at the Garden in a playoff game? He said, that was God disguised as Michael Jordan. That's how much awe the great Larry Bird had for Michael. Magic just gushes when he talks about Michael like he's from another planet. They were so in awe of him. They both knew they weren't quite in his league. And Isiah knows in his heart of hearts that the Pistons had to play all-out, 5-on-1 football to stop Michael Jordan in an era in which you could play football, not only hand check, clutch, grab, hard foul, body check. You could tackle Michael Jordan and get away with it without any flagrant fouling going on.
You said you said Kareem couldn't do it without Magic. Kind of like Jordan couldn't do it without Scottie. You do realize even though he wasn't making the play, he wasn't winning finals, Kareem won 3 MVPs. He won 3 MVPs. Kind of like Magic, kind of like Michael, wasn't going to finals, but was winning MVPs in the regular season. That kind of like that scenario. So in other words, Jordan couldn't get over the hump until Scottie got there. Like Kareem couldn't get over the hump with the Lakers until Magic got there. Oh, okay. Yeah, that kind of had like it happened. But you keep telling me. I'm just trying to figure out, yeah, they were in awe, but they kept spanking him. Well, how does that work, Skip? They're in awe, but they're beating your butt.
Shannon.
Ooh, I'm so scared of that guy. I'm so scared of that guy. But I take him down every time.
No, it didn't matter who his teammate became. It could have been Sam Pippen instead of Scottie Pippen. It just didn't matter. As he grew up, as he got stronger and better, he got to a place where nobody could deal with him. The first time around the playoffs against the Pistons, he won 1 game. Next year, 2. Next year, 3. Next game, sweep Pistons, then beat Magic in 5 games in the finals, and it was over. He owned the NBA for the next decade. Would have won 8 straight championships if he had not been forced to take 2 years off.
He ain't forced. Ain't nobody forced it. Nobody forced. You told me nobody forced Michael Jordan to do anything. They say Michael Jordan, God, he was God. Who can force God to do anything? You see what you try to do, Skip Bayless? You want to overlook the fact. Okay. Was the commissioner was David Stern commissioner in '84 when Michael Jordan got into the league? So I'm just trying to figure out in all the '80s why didn't it happen? Why was it? Did they not play finals in the '80s? Because if I'm not mistaken, I can go through and name them all, and none of them happen to be the Bulls. It wasn't until the Big 3 Celtics got old. It wasn't until the Lakers got old. It wasn't until the bad boy Pistons got old. That's fact. Now, we looking at Isiah, we talking about, what do you mean old? They were going to the conference finals every year. And then they went to the finals, NBA finals, for 3 consecutive years. Michael wasn't doing that. Michael was getting swept, while Magic going to 8 finals in the decade of the 80s. Magic Johnson went to 8 finals in the decade of the 80s. Where was Jordan then? Larry Bird went 5 times in the decade of the 80s. Where was Jordan then?
Yeah, he was scoring 63 at Boston Garden. That's where he was. So I just want to remind everyone out there and encourage everyone, please watch episodes 5 and 6 on ESPN on Sunday night so that your eyes can be further opened to the historical fact that Jordan was superior in every way, shape, and form to LeBron James. It's over, Shannon. Get used to it. This is the new normal.
Don't worry about it. In 10 years, we coming out with our own documentary, How I Became the GOAT. That's how we gonna do that one, Skip Bayless. Yeah. The Last Dance, How I Became the GOAT.
Yeah.
I have a feeling Shannon really wants to be involved in that one. He's gonna do everything he can.
No mercy.
Every first-year outcome for all first-round NFL draft picks. They had Tua Tagovailoa starting at 12 games for Miami, and they pointed to the uncertainty about how well he has recovered from his hip injury. So, Shannon, how soon should the Dolphins start Tua Tagovailoa? When do you want to see it happen?
Skip, I think they have a great luxury of having a veteran quarterback in Ryan Fitzpatrick that's already there, who's had a year in this system and played very well down the stretch, Skip. Now, for me, I believe that the expectation is that Ryan Fitzpatrick will start the season. I believe he goes into camp as the #1 quarterback, and I believe he'll start the season. Now, at some point in time, Skip, if it's not beneficial, let's just say they're 0-4, they're 1-5, I believe they will then turn to Tua. Because, Skip, look, no matter how great a rookie is, he's going to struggle at times. And I believe that once you go to a rookie, you stick with him. And this is why I believe that you start Fitzpatrick first, because you can always go to Tua. But it's just hard, Skip, when you start a rookie and he struggles to yank him. You don't want to do anything to mess with his confidence. And you remember last year, Skip, Daniel Jones, they started Eli, and then once Eli struggled, they brought Daniel Jones in. And it wasn't until Daniel Jones got hurt that Eli got an opportunity to play again. And once Jones was healthy, he went back into the starting lineup. I believe you'll see a very similar situation to this. You're not worried about 12 games this year. You're worried about the next 12 years. And I believe this is the best plan for Tua.
Timeout. I asked you again and again before the draft, do you have any injury concern about Tua going forward? Because I had huge concerns. You repeatedly told me zero concerns about his long-term health. All I heard from independent doctors was that he's now 1,000% healthy and that every MRI of his surgically repaired hip, pristine, meaning it was perfect. The surgery was 1,000% successful. So given that, and given the fact that Shannon Sharpe assured me that Tua is better than Joe Burrow, wait a second, Joe Burrow's going to start for the woeful Bengals? He'll start game 1. He'll get thrown into that fire.
And what did they do?
Sort of speed his growth,
didn't they get rid of Andy Dalton? Didn't they get Andy Dalton out of there? So if there was no Ryan Fitzpatrick, absolutely he would start. But you have Ryan Fitzpatrick, Skip, so there is no need.
Timeout. You have told me repeatedly on this show, Ryan Fitzpatrick is an every other year wonder. That just when you come to trust him, to depend on him, to expect that what he did last year, he'll do next year, you're in trouble. You're always disappointed by Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
So he did play pretty to very well last year. Yeah, he beat the Eagles late in the year. He went up to Foxborough, and he beat Belichick's defense with a last-ditch late-game drive. Yep, he did.
He beat Tom Brady.
He did. He drove.
He beat Tom Brady. Yes, he
80
did.
80 yards in 13 plays with 2 minutes left to beat the vaunted Belichick's overrated and exposed defense. That's what Ryan Fitzpatrick did to knock Tom Brady out of the 2 seed after he did what he always did, which was another fourth-quarter game-winning drive that got canceled by Belichick's overrated defense. But the point is, Tua is in the perfect spot with a much better team and roster than Joe Burrow has in Cincinnati to start from the start. I don't get it. If he's what you say he is, both health-wise and ability-wise, a lot of people say, oh, he's special. He's freakishly, he can do good lightning release, deadly accurate, blah, 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 blah. And I'm saying, no, I'm not buying, I'm not seeing, and I'm not trusting health. So I think I'm getting validated if he doesn't start game 1. And I think you're getting sunk if he doesn't stay game 1 because you're going to hear about it from me.
Skip, it's not like the cupboard is bare in Cincinnati. You know, they do have A.J. Green. They do have Tyler Boyd. Joe Mixon ran for 1,000 yards last year. So it's not like the cupboard is bare when it comes to offensive weapons. They have some. Now, they need to fill out that offensive line, and we don't know what they're going to be like defensively. But, Skip, you are in – look, I get it. You know, you want to see Tua start and all that. You want to see him struggle. But it's not going to happen. They're going to bring him along nice and slow. And over the next 10 years, I will prove to be right because my guy will be better than your guy. I don't even know who your guy is, but I'm assuming it's Joe Burrow. But I just want to know one thing. Why do you do this? When Peyton Manning and Tom Brady used to go head-to-head, and Manning would lose, they would say Brady beat Manning. They never said Brady beat Tony Dungy's defense. Now, when quarterbacks beat Tom Brady, they beat Belichick's defense. Why is that?
So I must tell you, my microphone just fell off, so I'm going to have to hold it here.
Good.
And Ernestine does such a great job of miking me up in the morning and running my camera. She's downstairs right now because she's turned into this sort of compulsive cooker cleaner, which it's just the age, the time that we're in. But she'll be up here in just a moment to fix my microphone. But at least it gives me a chance to point out that once again on Friday, I'm wearing goat on goat. So you can see my microphone, but you can also see my Lil Wayne necklace, goat on Jumpman logo, goat. And that's all you need to know as we head towards Sunday night and we get to see the true GOAT in action in episodes 5 and 6. So, again, to sum this up, Burrow will be better than Tua, and Burrow will do what should have happened to Tua. He will start from game 1. And I think you are afraid of Tua's health, and I think you're also afraid of his ability.
Oh, I'm definitely not afraid of his ability. I'm not afraid of his health, and I believe that he gonna probably miss the first couple of games because Fitzpatrick's going to be in there, and he'll probably stink it up, and then Tua will come in there and light it up and be Rookie of the Year. Ta-da, and there you have it.
Mercy.
Well, yesterday, LeBron posted several pictures and videos of him wearing a hat with the new Space Jam movie title, A New Legacy. So, Shannon, is this LeBron's response to MJ's The Last Dance documentary?
His movie, he's excited. His movie is coming out in 2021, and he just happened to have the hat. Hey, Bron, let your boy get one of them things. I'm going to wear one, too. You know what? Y'all need to stop this. Because eventually y'all going to say, the only reason LeBron James eating is because Michael Jordan ate. The only reason LeBron James drank water is because Michael Jordan once drank water. Man, you stop this. That man can't have a life. He can't do things without it trying to be a subliminal message to Michael Jordan. Man, this is y'all getting ridiculous with this.
So, Shannon Sharpe, you need to remind your man LeBron just to stay in the shadows. Get out of the way. Don't try to keep reminding us, remember me? I did Space Jam 2, A New Legacy, they're calling it. There's only one legacy anybody cares about, and it's the first Space Jam. It was the only Space Jam that anybody cares about, and The Last Dance is all that anybody cares about. And, in fact, Shannon Sharpe just pointed out to me in the break that David Falk just said, I think it was on Boomer's show, that there was one appearance offered to Michael Jordan, a 2-hour appearance a couple of years ago for $100 million, and Michael said no to that. Well, that shows you just how all-time amazing The Last Dance is, because he has given those documentary makers dozens of hours sitting and talking from the heart. You're getting the GOAT from the heart, giving you the lowdown, the sit-down lowdown on what actually happened in 1998, how it happened, why it happened, and you're getting to see the GOAT unveiled for the first time where you're seeing him in all of his glory. So, LeBron, just can it, stay in the background till this is over, and then try to do your phony GOAT things after that. We've seen enough of you for this time.
Do we have seen enough? Well, how about this here? Where there has been someone that's not as pleased with The Last Dance as everyone else has been. The great documentarian Ken Burns, you know who he is. He said the mere fact that Michael Jordan has so much control, I don't really know if it's as good as it should be, because there are some things that should have been in that probably taken out. So I just want you to know, want everybody to know, the great documentarian, one of the great historians when it comes to documenting things is Ken Burns, and he's not as pleased with it as Skip Bayless is. So now, what you gonna say about that, Skip?
I agree with that assessment. On the other hand, you're getting Michael from the gut because he is F-bombing like crazy. This is the owner of the Charlotte franchise, and it's not the best public look for him to be dropping F-bombs and MF bombs right and left. It's showing you, he's giving you the truth as he sees it. I agree it's from his point of view, but we've never seen it before.
Skip, you know this. You've been around him. This is him. What people see as the owner and the polished guy that used to give the interviews, what you see as he sit there with that stuff in that glass and that stick on the table, that's Michael Jordan.
I'm just glad we have more to watch on Sunday. That is it for Undisputed. We'll be back same time Monday. We will dive into everything. MJ, The Last Dance. Have a great weekend, everyone. Stay safe.